Thank you very much, Mr. President, for joining us this evening. Turns out to be a good time to speak with you. On Monday, you celebrate the first anniversary of your inauguration as President of Indonesia. And on Friday, this Friday, you celebrate a birthday. And since I am older than you, I can mention that because you look to me. But your background is quite amazing. First of all, your education, for a variety of reasons, you ended up in a variety of schools, what we call school and junior high school, various countries in Switzerland, but unique background in terms of your young education.
Yes, well, I think I followed my father, of course, my family. At that time, basically, my father was in exile, actually. So he was an opponent of President Sukarno, and so when President Sukarno was in power, my father, for political reasons, and then he left the country and we followed. And so wherever my father had to go, we went, and then that's why basically every 2 years we moved to a new country. Finally, ending up in the United Kingdom in 1968. I returned back to Indonesia. At that time, of course, there was a political change. President Sukarno was replaced by President Suharto. My father was called back by President Suharto to serve in President Suharto's government, and I returned back to Indonesia in 1968.
You also, by the way, the president has a sense of humor. Tell us about how you went to Harvard.
No. I know that the Anglo-Saxon community, they're very impressed by Oxford, Cambridge, for those, the British, etc., Commonwealth people. Very impressed hearing the words Oxford and Cambridge. And for the American oriented people, very impressed by Harvard, MIT, Princeton, Cornell. So I understood that. So one day I was in a reception. It was the Queen's birthday, I think. Queen's birthday in Jakarta, and I was there with my deputies. I was chairman of the party, he was the deputy chairman. He graduated from the London School of Economics. So in the reception, all the young British diplomats surrounded him and didn't address me at all, right? So, why? Because I keep hearing, oh, Excellency, you graduated from LSE, London, and so my deputy was saying yes. And so then I, wanting some attention, I broke in. I said, actually, I went to Oxford, and they all changed their attention to me. They surrounded me. Oh, you went to, which college did you go to? No, actually, I went to the bookstore in Oxford. But no, this works every time. It works every time. Just now, a few minutes ago, I think there was Ted Oisius, yeah? Ted was there with William, right? And apparently both of them were graduates of Harvard, right? So they were very proud of it, you know. So they mentioned it, yeah, we are Harvard graduates, same class, 1984, right? He said. So, you know, I didn't want to lose out, so I said, no, I also went to Harvard. So Ted comes, wait, which college did you go to? I said, no, I went to the bookstore in Harvard. I got him, you know, so it works every time.
Well, you come from a very distinguished family. Your grandfather was a founder of a very notable bank, and your father was a brilliant economist who served Chicago hard, but also was not afraid to try to make a change when he thought one was needed. So, your father helped shape your philosophy. So, given your family background, how did they shape your economic thinking?
I think you are correct, because, you know, my grandfather lived in the times of a big colony of Holland, of Netherlands. My father went to school in Netherlands and graduated there in economics. And so this was the 40s, right? And then, of course, we were in the middle of this great, let us say, upheaval, fighting for our independence. So my father came back. And at that time, to be very frank, most of the leaders of Asia, Africa, the leaders, the elite, were basically socialists. Because at that time, socialism, in fact, even Marxism, communism, they were the movement that really advocated for freedom against the colonialists and the imperialists. I think that's why a lot of Asian, African leaders, movements of the young were practically left-wing socialists. Many were communists, and my father was also a socialist in his young days. In fact, he was a leader of the Socialist Party of Indonesia. But then, I think what influenced him a lot was when he was by our leaders to New York, to the United Nations, to represent Indonesia, lobby for Indonesia. And he was there, and there he made friendship with a lot of American leaders who basically were business leaders, who were capitalists. But many American capitalists in those days and leaders were also anti-imperialist and anti-colonialism. They were against all this colonial and imperialist movement, and America at that time was in the forefront of actually basically forcing the European colonial powers to decolonize. So I think that's my father got, and he was helped a lot by many American business leaders. He always talked of this Matthew Fox, I think. Matthew B. Fox. It was at that time, I think, the founder of 20th Century Fox, I think, who became a good friend of my father and always helped the Indonesian independence movement. So it's very interesting. So when he came back from the US, in the early days of our independence, he became quite, I would say, even balanced. Of course, the thinking was always socialistic, but he understood that actually capitalism, free enterprise, really had something that's very important. And that was his thinking. In the end, of course, I was a young boy. I said, so, Father, what is the best economic system according to you, Father? And he said, actually, the best economic system for us, for Indonesia, must be a mixed economic system. It must be, we must take the best of capitalism and the best of socialism. And I think this is now, I think it's growing to be the mainstream thinking. For instance, this is the same thinking, I think, as the third way of Tony Blair, the middle way. So I don't think in the 21st century world, we can opt for one set of thinking, one set of philosophy that works for everybody. It must be, I think we need to find each country the system that works for our country. That's my opinion.
One of the things in terms of getting down to specifics that you've done in your first year is a program where you're spending billions of dollars to provide school lunches for children. And walk us through what you learned from the Rockefeller Institute and others and how important it is for a meal for children to learn, but also what is this already starting to do to the local agricultural community? Talk about the kitchens that are being set up, and already it's beginning to have an impact. I'll steal some of his thunder. Right now, he is feeding each day the equivalent population of 7 Singapores. So walk us through this program.
Yes, I think this free meal program, in Indonesian we call it MBG, makan bergizi gratis, so free nutritious meal. Well, basically it came about, you know, I've been campaigning, I've been running for president, I think. I ran for president, I think, 5 times in this last 25 years, I think, 20. 5 times I ran, 4 times I lost. The last time I won. What I'm trying to say is, during this campaign, this 5 campaign, I traveled to many areas, to many villages, and every time I come to the village, I see young children greeting me. They come and stand and they wave and they... So I talk to them and I ask them, what's your age? And I was many times surprised. When I thought that the little boy in front of me must be only 4 years old because of his body, he replied that he was 10 years old. And the little girl who I thought must be only 5 years old, she said she's 11 years old. And it went on, so I was shocked. So I saw directly and physically, I saw stunting, I saw malnutrition, I saw poverty in my eyes. And it's very difficult for people who are living in the elite to understand that children can eat sometimes only rice with salt. And so that got me thinking. Then I remembered the schools in Europe and UK and the US. They had free meals for lunch. So I said, and then I read about Brazil. I saw this, the importance of doing something. And then I realized that India, their per capita income is less than Indonesia. And yet their leaders had the courage to have free meal program for their children. So I said to my team, I said, if India can do it, why cannot Indonesia? And India, I think, has done it since 2010. And they have put it into their laws that free meal is mandatory for the children. Brazil does this. So when I started planning for this, it was in 2023, I think. And at that time, there were 77 countries that had a free meal program. So I said Indonesia must be the 78th or 79th. So we started planning, and I announced it as my campaign program, and we designed it. And now I'm proud to say, as of a few hours ago, we have now 11,400 kitchens. I think, yeah, 11,400. Yusa, berapa ya? 11,900. Sorry, 11,900 kitchens. And we are feeding today 35.4 million mouths. So 35.4 million mouths. Yeah, and that's the equivalent of 7 Singapores. So we are feeding 7 Singapores every day. And I think, yes, we have glitches. I think we had food poisoning. But when we counted the number of meals we gave out, the number of food poisonings, I think the statistic is as low as 0.0007, which I think is not, I mean, even one poisoning is not acceptable. But I think in any human endeavor, to have a zero defect or zero accident or zero mistake, I think it's very rare in human endeavor, in my opinion. I don't make an excuse. We are determined to make it as near to zero as possible. We increased our oversight, SOPs. We are now buying new equipment, filters for the water, test kits for the food, modern equipment to heat the water, to heat the trays that are being, so we are putting it, trying to increase all the oversight.
Now with these meals, walk us through what it's already doing to the farming community.
Yes, what we find out, you see, because now we send the money straight to the kitchen. We don't go through all these, layers of bureaucracy. We straight, and we have trained, before the whole program, we have trained 32,000 managers. These are all graduates from university, 32,000. We trained them 3 months, and then they are deployed into the villages. And then we have a partnership with local foundations, local groups, and local entrepreneurs. So this is a government and government-private, let us say, partnership, because the foundations, the local groups, some entrepreneurs, they are the ones who build the kitchens and run the kitchens according to our specifications and our SOPs. So one kitchen is designed to provide food to 3,000 between 3,000 to 3,500, 3,800 children and pregnant mothers. So what happens is, one kitchen will need 3,000 eggs every 2 days or every 3 days. We'll need 3,000 cucumbers, 3,000 carrots, 3,000 tomatoes, 3,000 pieces of chicken, and etc. So what happens is, the local farmers find out, oh, we have a guaranteed offtake for our products. And so they're growing new stuff. We hear a lot of stories, a lot of testimonies. They're building fish ponds, and those in the coastal areas, they increase their fish production. So it's very exciting. What I got a report, and this is from the Rockefeller Institute. I got a visit from a delegation of the Rockefeller Institute, led by Mr. Roy, I think it's Roy Cohen, I think, right? And they said to me, in their experience, going through many countries in the world with the same program, they said that every $1 spent in the free meal program, the return on the $1 is between $5 to $37. So this is massive. It really encourages me, because my purpose is to overcome the hunger of the children. That is my first purpose. But in the sense that we put in so much resources to the villages and the poor areas of Asia, even the urban areas, even Jakarta has undernourished children. So, and this, I think, is providing a big boost to the economy, in my opinion. That's the feedback I get.
And you've done programs to increase agricultural output, but also with the 17,000 islands, you also now amazingly have a program to improve fishing with the refrigerators and the like. Walk us through how...
Yes, I think Indonesia is basically, we are actually very blessed and very fortunate that 3/4 of Asia is actually sea. But the sad thing is, we have not really exploited well this blessing. So basically, in the 80 years in history, there has been no real effective program to empower our fishing communities, basically. And this is what we're trying to do. My Minister of Fisheries, he started a pilot project. One model, we make as a model of this. We call this project the Fishing Village Project, Desa Nelayan. So, a village consisting of 2,000 fishermen, we will reorganize, give facilities. For instance, many of these villages do not have a simple jetty. So we build a jetty for them. They don't even have ice. So we provide financing so that they can build a small ice producing facility. So every day they go to the sea, they will have ice blocks. And so when they catch the fish will be relatively fresh coming back. So it's simple things like that. Cold storage, when the produce can be stored, and then electricity, solar panels. So all these things, clean clinics for them, good schools for the children. And we find out their testimony, after 1.5 years, 2 years, their earning increased up to 100%, which is amazing. You know, I am myself I'm very surprised. I thought maybe 40%, 50%, but 100% increase. But for basic things like ice, and then of course facilities for auctioning the fish. So now all the people who need fish, they know, oh, in that village, I can get fresh fish. And if I come early for the auction, I'll get the best. So prices increase, earnings increase. So what we are planning to do is we are planning to replicate that this year, 2026. This year, we already start building 65 already. 65 already. And the target will be end of 2026. We are going to build at least 1,000 of these villages all over Indonesia. 1,000, that means it will empower 2 million fishermen. 2 million fishermen with their wife and maybe 2 kids. That's 8 million Indonesians. We hope immediately, after 1 year, their earnings will increase by 100%. And this is our goal, our dream. And I'm very bullish, I'm very optimistic. So we will now get fresh increase of protein from the fishing villages. We will send it to our cooperatives, because I'm also building, we have already established 81,000 village cooperatives. And each village cooperative will have their own warehouse, cold storage, will have their own mini supermarket, their own village drugstore, village clinic, etc., etc., etc. And each cooperative will be given financing to buy 2 trucks. So all their produce will be sent to the market. And there will be no more stories of, sir, our harvest is rotting, nobody's coming, da-da-da-da-da-da. Yeah, so I think this is going to be, an exciting time for Indonesia. I'm excited, and because I'm seeing this dream, this concept turning into reality as we sit here today.
And one of the things you've done was to wipe out old debts for a lot of small farmers and businesses that were around for years and years.
Yes, exactly.
Weren't going to be paid, so just wipe it out and let them have a fresh start.
I think at that time when I came in, even before I came in, in my campaign, a lot of these representatives from the farmers and from the small business came to me and, sir, we can't get any new loans because our debt of 25 years ago is still in the books of the banks. So I called some of the bankers, we discussed, and basically I understood that actually in the banks, right, after 25 years, most of these banks have been written off already in the books of the banks. So, of course, there are the conservative bankers who said, no, sir, we cannot, what example will it give for the other lenders, borrowers, right? So I said, these people, 25 years, they cannot pay back because of bad weather, because of natural disaster, etc., etc. No way can they pay back. So to be realistic, I said there is such a thing as forgiveness. So I said we forgive the debt.
Now, one of the things in what they call a macroeconomic sense you're doing is free trade agreements, and you have an agreement with the EU, European Union, to promote trade. Can you walk us through that?
Yes, I think this is one of the achievements of my team, my economic team, led by Mr. Ailangga Hartarto. He's been working very hard with his team. And we succeeded in getting the agreement through the CEPA, right? Indonesian European Union Comprehensive Economic Partnership Agreement, CEPA. And I think this is a breakthrough because it came right when the American government started their tariff campaign. Can we say campaign?
It's a polite way to put it.
Right.
So I'm an American. I have more pungent words. So you have to be diplomatic.
So I think we need to. For us, it was a wake-up call, right? I mean, if I were an American, I understand the point of view of the Trump administration. I mean, America cannot be, right? I mean, the whole world considers America to be a nice market, and then on the other way around, they don't also open their market to American goods. So there will always be, I mean, it's the duty of every leader to try to protect their people. But, I mean, if you go in a tariff war, where will it stop, right? But for us, it's a wake-up call. So I said, now I tell my guys, my team, and I will talk to the business people. We must be more efficient. We must be more daring. We must be more, not always rely on an easy market. Oh, United States. I think this is opening up. But yes, and then that's why now we have a CEPA with the EU. I witnessed the signing of CEPA with Canada, and I think we are more and more trying to get these type of agreements with most markets, also with Latin America, with I think RCEP and CPTPP, etc. So we also are joining OECD. We requested to join. We've joined BRICS. So we believe that we should, be in all the markets that we can. But basically, more important is actually the Indonesian market. We are nearly 300 million people. So we must actually boost our capacity, our buying power. That's why I want to really empower the poor of Indonesia. That will create domestic consumption.
When you campaigned, you gave your desire to increase the growth rate from 5% a year to 8% a year. What other steps are you taking? What industries do you see coming in the future to Indonesia? And what would you say to Americans and others about why they should invest in Indonesia today so you can get that 8% growth rate?
I think 8% is very achievable. It's very achievable. As I mentioned to you, for instance, even with this free meal program, we are creating directly 1.5 million jobs. Directly. And there's 30,000 kitchens times 50 people working in the kitchen. 2 or 3 shifts, so 50 people times 30,000, that's 1.5 million. So the economic experts tell me that 1% growth will create 400,000 jobs. Well, we created already 1.5 million jobs. That's 3%. And that's not even with the 81,000 cooperatives. There, we calculate we'll also create at least another 15 jobs. But the beauty of the whole thing is that each kitchen has created 15 local entrepreneurs. One selling their eggs, the other one selling vegetables, the other one selling fish, this one selling meat, the other one so. And each of these 15 vendors or suppliers will have at least 5, 10, or 15 workers.
So foreign investors will be witnessing a growing economy which attracts capital.
I think so. Growing economy, and if these people have money, what do? They will buy shoes, clothes. They want to improve their housing. They want each to buy maybe motorcycle, a television. So I think this is the way. I mean, of course, the big guys will want to go to the big things, right? For instance, we have a lot of minerals, a lot of critical minerals. We are number 1, I think, in nickel, maybe number 4 or 5 in bauxite. We are in critical minerals. We are in, so I think there's a lot of space for new investment. We need more exploration for oil and gas. We need more drilling. We find out that we have, I think, 30, 40,000 old wells that with new technology, we can increase our yield. So I think there's a lot of room for investment, and I think Indonesia must be something that will attract a lot of interest to come in, because I think not many economies, I think, in the present world enjoy. Even now we are growing at 5% a year. I mean, many other countries are not even growing at all. 1%, 2%, even. I just came from Sharm el-Sheikh. I meet all the leaders, and we were exchanging notes, and many countries are struggling with energy and all that. And I think we are blessed with so many resources, but of course, I'm not satisfied. We have to manage better our resources.
One of the couple of things you're doing, one is improving tax collection, and the other is you may be looking at tax cuts to help stimulate the economy. And another thing you're doing is you've created a second sovereign wealth fund, Danantara, which has under assets starting off $1 trillion. And it not only includes your banks, but it includes Pertamina. But also, amazingly, you had 1,000 state-owned businesses that now you're going to rationalize, reduce, because together they're only returning 1% on assets. So if you rationalize these things, free up capital for better use, that alone will give a boost to the economy.
I think so. So I've given direction to the chairman of the Danantara to rationalize everything, cut down from the 1,000 state-owned enterprise maybe to more rational figure, maybe 200 or 230, 240, and then run them with international standards, right? So I am convinced that that 1 or 2% return can increase, must increase. I think, and I told I told the Danantara management to run it on an international business standards. You can look for the best brains, best talents, and I've changed the regulations. Now, expatriates, non-Indonesians can be leading our SOEs. I'm very excited, but because sometimes I don't know. There is some sort of disconnect sometimes between the economic players and the political players, the political leaders. Many political leaders, I think, do not want to do their homework. Many political leaders maybe are afraid of figures or afraid of business. So I think it now behooves all the younger leaders of Indonesia who want to be political leaders. You must understand business and economics. I think I heard somewhere, was it under Clinton's campaign somewhere, that he put in his campaign room, what?
It's the economy, stupid.
It's the economy, stupid. I don't know how to translate it into Indonesian, yeah? But it's the economy, stupid. If you don't understand the economy, you can be fooled by the economists, right? So you must never be intimidated by the so-called experts. I'm talking to my younger guys, right? So
one of the things you've been very open about is battling corruption. When you were defense minister, you made it a point that any relative, if the name came in for a contract, they would not get the contract. Relate the story first of a company that came in that made you an offer. They thought you couldn't refuse, but you did. And then walk us through quickly the things you are doing now to combat corruption, not just prosecutions, but making sure you have the personnel properly salaried so there's no excuse for payoffs. But first, relate the story about what happened to a particular defense company or a potential provider to get a contract. It was rather brazen.
Yeah. I mean, corruption is very difficult. Corruption, in my opinion, is a disease. Once it reaches stadium 4, like cancer, it's very difficult. But corruption, in my reading of history, corruption will destroy countries, nations, and regimes. So, I am determined to try to cut down corruption, and then sometimes the only thing is you must give the example, right? So yes, when I became Minister of Defense, the first night I became Minister of Defense, I remember I called in all my relatives, my nephews. I don't know if my brother was in the room, but I said, listen, I'm the Minister of Defense. Yeah, you guys cannot go into a Minister of Defense for any defense contract, right? Understand that. So that's what I try to do. But of course, after 2-3 months, business people are very creative, right? Especially Indonesian business people. So they will find ways and means, and then one day I found one of my nephew coming to me, right, with a project, I said, oh, come on. You've never been in defense, you don't understand defense, okay? So no, you look for other business. So one time, we had a defense project conference in the Ministry of Defense. So my head of logistics reported to me, "Sir, we have these 250 projects. And let me report to you, project number one, whatever, 3 companies in the short list. Company A, Company B, Company 3. Oh, by the way, sir, I would like to report in Company C, there's one of your nephews. Write him off. Go down the list. Oh, by the way, sir, in this project, your other nephews. Write him off. I wrote off all my family. And so in the comment, maybe I reported the names. And then they might have passed. So I had difficulty meeting my nephews for 3 or 4 months after that. But yeah, you have to give example. It's not easy, but you have to do it. And then now, the problem for Indonesia, I think, is this. If we can get this done well, I think very fast we will be the surprise of the world. For instance, I came into 2 islands of Indonesia, Bangka and Belitung, and we got a report there were 1,000 illegal tin mines. 1,000 on these 2 islands. And we were losing maybe 80% of our total tin production to these illegal miners and through smuggling. And I said this has to stop. I made a military training program with naval ships, airplanes, helicopters, drones, and we just blocked these 2 islands. No vessel can come in and out without us knowing what's inside. And basically we stopped the smuggling. One sampan tried to go out. We found out there had tin on the sampans. Can you imagine? So, and then we confiscated several cases of tin ingots, rare earth, etc., etc. We calculated that we saved our country about a couple of $1 billion. So next year, the increase of tin production, we hope, will come back to its original position, and we should be earning maybe at least 3 or 4 times what we were earning last year. So this is just one example of what we recovered. We also, of course, I took over from the previous government, handed me over the problem of about, I was reported come to us, sir, out of the millions of hectares of palm oil, about 5,000 are in violation of the law. What? Yes. Oh, no, so not 5,000, 5 million. 5 million hectares are in violation of the law. So I said, I am sworn in to uphold the law. So I told my Attorney General, my state auditing board, carry out investigations. What you find out, if there's a case, terminate their concessions. And that's what we did. I think by as of this month, we have recovered about 3.7 million hectares of plantations that violated the law. One plantation, 2 plantations, one was 50,000, the other 50,000, violated the law. There was a Supreme Court decision to confiscate those 2 estates, those plantations. 18 years ago, Supreme Court of Indonesia decision, not carried out for 18 years. The Attorney General came to me and said, what, Supreme Court? Inkrah, so no more ways to appeal. So I said, carry out, execute. Sir, this and that, what? You guys afraid? I ordered my armed forces, you accompany this Attorney General's office, accompany the state auditors, protect them, go in there and confiscate. 100,000 we take over, and no problem. So I think this is the case is the government now must enforce the law. And I'm determined to enforce the law, and I'm determined that the Indonesian government must be respected by everybody. The law is the law, regulations are regulations. Those who violate the law will have to deal with the law. So that's as simple as that. But what I mean is, we are recovering a lot of assets,
Well,
by efficiency.
Taking, whether it's on the village level, enforcing the law,
Yes.
fighting corruption, dealing with the tax code. There have been a lot of protests, as you know, in your country and in other countries. People worried about the rise of the cost of living, inequality, but you seem to have embarked on a path where you're going to have a vibrant economy, but you're going to make sure, as the phrase goes, not only is no one going to be left behind, but they're going to be very much part of a moving forward, whether it's in a village or in Jakarta. And before we let you go, though, one other thing, since we have you here, we won't let you answer the question. You were recently in Egypt, invited by President Trump to witness the historic agreement. Can you share with us, before you go, observations about what you saw and what you think may be unfolding, which also underscores Indonesia's traditional foreign policy of trying to stay out of the elephants who get in fights with each other, the great powers, that you focus on growth rather than international disputes. But give us some quick observations about what you saw in Egypt. By the way, the president went to Egypt midnight on Sunday night, and what was it? A few hours later, you came back. Amazing. Give us some observations about what you saw.
Yes, it was very interesting. I think there was a sense that we are at a historic opportunity. A lot must be done. There's still a long way. Anything can happen. But we all feel that this time, there's hope. So in New York, during the United Nations General Assembly, President Trump called about 8 of us, 8, let us say, leading Muslim countries. Indonesia considered Muslim majority, so we were invited. And he gave us his plan. We looked at the plan, we discussed it. It gave us hope. And then some of the other Arab leaders said, sir, we can live with the plan, we like it, it gives us hope. But what about Israel, right? And so he said, well, basically what he says is, I will convince the Israelis. And apparently he managed to do that. We have now a ceasefire. Aid is coming in. Hostages have been released. Some still, I think some dead bodies have to be recovered. So yes, there is, I would say, still hope that we can get this through. And Indonesia is still willing to be part of that. If they need peacekeeping troops, we said we are willing to provide peacekeeping troops. And so I'm optimistic. I hope that this can go through.
Well, in your speech in the UN, you gave a very courageous speech about if Israel would recognize Palestine, countries should recognize Israel, even if they're Muslim. And criticized you for that, but that exemplifies, though, the kind of firm leadership, forward leadership that the world needs. And so we've run out of time, unfortunately, but I think people that it's issues like ice for fishermen or trying to bring peace to a troubled region, Indonesia has a very strong leader. Thank goodness. Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you for all.
Thank you, President Prabowo and Steve. I'd like to ask both of you to just kindly stay seated for a minute, just while I give brief closing remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, what a great way to end this year's Forbes Global CEO Conference. We'd like to thank all our speakers, guests, and sponsors for their support and for making this annual gathering possible. You've been such a wonderful audience. We look forward to see you at the next conference. Now take his leave. Thank you.